Ladies and gentlemen, Hard Nosed Derby Podcast. It is 2023.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Not at all. I'm
glad I don't have checks. Because the first 25 would be 2022.
Right.
I promise you.
I can't spell or write, so I'm not worried about that.
Happy New Year! Well, you said you felt pretty good today.
I did.
So, 30 beers didn't really affect that.
Right. It was because I drank beer.
Beers?
And not...
I'll drink.
What the
fuck am I drinking? I am drinking Cutwater Lime Margarita in a very good Christmas present delivered by Cy. I think this has got a little gesture.
I see that.
Right below that big smash it symbol.
I see that.
From little Chody himself. We're going to try this Cutwater.
Yes, no, yes.
That's pretty fucking good.
That's 12.5% ABV.
Everything he hands me is 12. It's all 12%. Here you go. We got somebody with us today.
We do. You want to go ahead and introduce him?
We have Showtime Officials. Michael Huff made the trip over here from Marshall. How was that drive?
Long. I didn't think it was that long, and I got going and I looked at the GPS. I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to make it when he said he wants me to be there.
I think if my memory serves me correct, it's right about 2 hours if you went all the way down 24.
Yep, pretty close. It's an hour and 8 minutes. After you stop once, you're at 2 hours.
So we're going to get right in with him. You guys started right at the end of 2022 with Goatee Promotions.
Yes. We got in with them and kind of, I don't know, we just tried it out on our own without, going with anybody else, just seeing where we could go with it. And it was a pretty good turnout. We accidentally scheduled on the same night as Madison, so kind of cut us a little short, but this year we're going to try to work on making sure our dates don't overlap with no one. That's why we're trying to get them all out there. And just...
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Somebody's going to fuck that up.
I had my shit out at the beginning of January last year, and 4 fucking times it's stacked on top of them.
But the thing about that is Slayer was, yes, the same night as the Fall Madison show. But you got half of the Madison cars.
I did.
For the reason of...
they want to run against each other.
Yeah, they're tired of beating, if there's 6 of them, they sent 3 your way, kept 3 in town, and you're still kind of beating on each other at the end, but instead of beating on 6 or 5 other guys, you're only beating on 2 other guys, right. And that just...
And for sure, we pulled some cars out of Kansas City, Missouri. I think we pulled 6 total out of there with both classes. And we pulled Jesse Gonzalez, and his buddy from way down south. I don't know his name right offhand, but he drove 3 hours up here to run.
And I think you had Lee Howard, Jesse and maybe Trevor.
No, it was Lee, Jesse, and that guy from down south came with their group, which they all ran separate. Jesse and the the one guy ran stock. Jesse ended up winning. Came back, he went and pulled his car down and came back out and ran the street stock and just held it on the floor the whole time.
That's Jesse.
It was pretty good.
He pulls that shit down so much, and he's not afraid to do it right there to show, whether it's a Caddy, a Lincoln, what it is. He'll pull it down and get it on.
Yeah.
He'll full send that bitch. He don't care. So you guys stepped into the promotion world.
Yes.
Were you able to take anything from, everything from the fall to 2023? I know you guys added some shows this year, too.
Yes. So I helped out Huntsville, too, for, I forgot.
JS Promotions?
Yes, JS. I think it's JS Promotions. Yeah, I came in and helped him. He was needing some help. So I told him, I was like, I'll come in and help. I brought Jesse Gonzalez with me as a tech. Me and him tech the show out. It all worked out good there. I've learned, I learned a lot from Slater and Huntsville. But the thing is, I've learned the most by just showing up. And if you ever watch me, like at Madison, I'll get my car teched in, and I'm not saying I stand up there to see what's fair and what's not. I stand up there to learn mainly, not looking at people's cars, but just watching what they're looking for and stuff like that. Watching them on my car, what they look for, and then you just go from there. And the main thing is I told everybody that's in my group that we're on my side, we're gonna not pay attention to the crowd. Leave the crowd alone. That's where the trouble comes in.
100%.
So.
There's been more fuck-offs from a crowd in the last 3 years than I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Whether it's to a driver, to an official, to a rider. I mean, it's just...
Well, I'm going to jump in because I know you've heard it. You've got a bunch of messages about it, and everybody's been talking about it. Let's talk about your rules.
Okay.
Now, I know that you said that you didn't make the rule set.
No.
But whenever that stuff was going down, who was he consulting and stuff to get the rule set?
So we were trying to go with Madison's group of guys, not the drivers, but the officials, with Salisbury's fair board / guy that's over it.
Right.
And we were just trying to keep everything. I guess we were trying to lay a level playing field out for everybody.
Well, and I understand that because we did the same thing. But what was his determining factor on not letting the drivers have a say in the rule set?
I don't see. That's what was crazy. We were supposed to have. They were wanting to have a big meeting,
right?
And bring a bunch of drivers, like class A drivers, not just a guy that runs once a year. Because a guy that runs once a year, to me, yeah, he has a say, but does he have a say?
Right. No, I get it.
So we got all these other guys that want to run. And the thing is you're going to want something different than Bay Miller's going to want.
Right.
And I'm going to want something different than you're going to want.
Well,
but the drivers, we're trying to, we need to have a meeting, really,
right,
and get a bunch of drivers together and sit down and make a good set of stock rules.
Well, my deal with that whole situation is, and like I said, I dealt with it too, because there's stuff that you're going to have in those rules that somebody didn't want.
You're never going to have everybody 100% happy.
No, but we did take a median. If certain guys, I know that one of the big deals on your all's rule set was the wheel centers.
Yes.
Whenever it all started. To me, a wheel center doesn't make a fuck. And I'm going to say that 100%. Because if you're not letting them run a braced rear end or an axle saver, if you're running a full solid center on a stock 31 spline axle,
that wheel ain't breaking, but that axle saying fuck you.
You're hurting yourself more than you're helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the manufactured bumper thing. Everybody's been through that.
Yeah.
You've been catching shit over that
big
time. Again, in my opinion, and this was just, there was enough guys that didn't mind spending that money to buy one that we were going to let them run them. Because you run derby cars.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a fucking bumper 3 times a year.
No.
And if you're buying good bumpers, you really don't want to do that.
I think the main thing with the wheel centers, in all honesty, is they were trying to go to a stock look. Stock, it's a stock build. It's in my mind, I have full centers. I can run. But in my mind, a full center is for a street stock car or bigger. But if, I don't know. To me, stock is more stocker than...
And I get that, but if you all are appealing, and we did the same thing, man. I'm telling you, we sat down and evaluated all this shit. So I'm not telling you anything that we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
My deal was that stock class is supposed to be budget friendly, correct?
Correct.
That's where everybody's going with that stocker. Well, you're still letting them run skid loader tires, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're not running their bead protectors. They're not running their centers. They're not running their built wheels. Well, now they're running a set of skid loader tires.
Yeah.
Where they're not holding them. Well, now you're fucking your stock guys out of more money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we set on it, And that was where it come to us because everybody's like, oh, they need to be on these bigger cars. They need to be on these street stocks. As long as they're not helping the outcome of the Derby and they're actually putting more money in the guys' pockets and saving them money, that's where I was at with it.
Well, you have said it so many times. What kind of wheel you run on your builds?
Well, I run stock wheels.
Correct, because you'd rather have the wheel bend and
100%.
give than the axle brake.
Yes.
But I don't want to be the guy that determines that because I don't mind. I'll keep buying fucking skid loader tires, whatever.
Yeah.
I will. I may be in a position that's better than the
17-year-old kid that's still in high school.
Yeah.
But he did have access to a $25 center, and he's got a welder in his shop that he can weld a center in his, and bead protectors and shit like that. Because, I mean,
Correct.
They're really not that expensive, especially if you want to put the time in to build your own wheels.
Yeah.
Because I've knocked centers out of several wheels and welded centers out of myself. It took a little bit of time. Definitely trial and error shit.
Yeah.
But it's not the money grab that everybody's talking about. No, it is if you go buy a set of built wheels. You have somebody build them.
There's 500, 600 right out the window.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But as far as a level playing field, I don't see the advantage, disadvantage besides the look.
Yeah. I think the main thing is the young kids that are getting into it, yeah, you're right. They can go in and do that. But I know probably 4 guys that are coming into this new from around my area that don't know nothing about it.
Well, they need to start at the gut and go class.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, is like they said, the gut and go class is cheaper and easier, but that class can be a little wild for...
No. That class can get fucking rowdy.
Rowdy, yes. And that's what he was...
Hurry.
This one kid's like, he's kind of terrified to get one of them tiny things. He goes, I'll get in a big car with a big cage in it, but I'm terrified to get in that little thing.
Yeah.
Because he's a bigger guy like us. He goes, I don't know.
And I get that, but the amount of experience that you're getting running that gut and go class, especially being new and just going out there and you're running around all these other rookie
You're getting
drivers,
seat time. Yeah.
100%.
A lot of seat time.
and you're learning something.
Yep.
Which I get that. I understand 100%. But also the kids, like you're saying, that don't know anything. I started out that way too. I didn't know a fucking thing.
Same. I don't have any... You can look in my background. There's not a single person in my family that's ever ran a derby car. I started 4 years ago, and I've learned everything by trial and error and just listening to people and taking out the good from the bad out of them.
But I'm just saying that all classes can be built on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Because there's scrap yards. We've got a couple local here, 30 cents a pound for scrap steel.
Yep.
It might not be perfect. You might have to set in the shop for a minute with a grinder to make it pretty and clean it up. But it's doable.
Yep.
And honestly, from where our stock cars were to the street stock class was not a whole lot last year.
No, there wasn't much of a difference.
So if you've got a welder and you've got a smartphone or a computer at your service, you can still get on WeCrash. I still get on there. And you can read.
Oh, yeah. You can learn a lot.
And I mean, because there's forums and shit for everything.
Oh, yeah.
So the argument, and I've set, you can ask Derek, I've set until I was blue in the face and argued with Brian Powell and all of the guys pushing for the stocker built. I am glad that they added that class this year.
Yes.
But I think that they should have kept where they were at with the stock class.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. We were reading in the rules, though, 2017, 2018, they weren't allowing them full centers.
Well, it actually said in my rules, no full center.
You can have the small centers.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where we were kind of at. Like, you put it in the rules, but then you go out there and you look
over
if
in the
you're
car
looking
and
at
like,
me, yeah.
Oh, that fucker's got a full
That's
center.
like
What
me
the hell?
and Derek pull up beside each other, and I got stock wheels all the way around, and Derek's sitting there with 4 full centers. I'm gonna be like, well, that said not allowed the rules. That's where most guys are at.
I'd be that fucking guy.
And they're like, well, we're gonna blow 4 half-inch holes in it. Well, 4 half-inch holes in a half-inch piece of steel ain't
Well,
gonna do it.
and honestly, I'm telling you, if I pull up in that same situation that you're talking, that scenario, I'm going to look over and I'm not going to be like, fuck, that wasn't in the rules. I'll be like, I'm knocking the fucking spindle off that bitch.
Yep.
I was like,
It's
I will
true.
knock the fucking axle plumb off that motherfucker.
Yep.
And I watched it happen.
He will have studs still on that wheel when I'm done with it. but it's going to be off of his car.
Correct.
Salisbury, Missouri. I think you were there. Artie Clark's show there. Weren't you at that?
I was
one?
there. I ran there.
Yeah,
Me and you about met in the middle of the track. And
yeah.
both were like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I was running from. I think I was actually running from one of the Eddie boys, and he's going the other way. I'm like, oh boy.
He's probably running from one of the other Eddie boys.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened there.
Me and him were like, we seen each other and was like, oh, shit, and turned because we were supposed to be running together. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and up there in that heat with a couple of them, Junior Eddie had
He was running solids.
solids with full centers on the back, and Russell knocked one of them off. And Junior said he's had an axle broken 16 years off one of them things.
That is the thing. When you can't run an axle saver and you can't run what they call a stud saver,
Yeah.
Something's going to give. I mean, whether it's a stud, a hub, something's going to break.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that there is an advantage when they're running 40 splines.
Oh, yes.
At that point, I get it.
That's the difference between a finger and a wrist.
100%.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, here's your 28 spline. There's your 31 spline.
But
there's your 35 spline, but then the wrist is your 40.
nobody can see what he's doing again.
No, but I wish they could.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
At one point, I think he had Huff's penis in his hand.
Twice.
Twice.
That was 28 one, right?
Let's go to.
Well, before we switch gears on that, I will give you a piece of advice, and you take this for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
My word, it is what it is.
Hey, you're a promoter. Hey, I'll listen.
We're
retired promoters.
Listen to your drivers.
Yes.
Listen to your drivers.
I'm
not telling you, I'm not saying change your rules every time they want something different.
Yeah.
But you're going to get to a point where it's hurting you more than it's helping.
When you've got 30 dudes that are wanting the same thing and 2 that's not.
Let them have it.
And we'll see, that's the thing.
Because the other 2's going to follow suit. They'll show up.
I promise you.
Yeah.
Because I've asked a few guys, and, I asked a couple guys, and it's kind of mixed, though. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of like, because I did what you said. Like, I went right down the middle. It's like down the middle.
Uh-huh.
I got half these guys, like I asked the Madison guys. I asked some guys from Sturgeon. And they're like, well, I think they're all right. It's just everybody's going to change. People aren't used to change. And, it's my first year of actually going a full year of promoting.
Right.
So, I'm going to learn from this year and move forward with that. And
it can always be something that is a little adjusted as the year gets started.
And I know I hate to say that because we have caught shit over it because I've done it. I changed my bumper rule mid-season. I did. Mm-hmm. And I told everybody about it. I told them what I was doing, why I was doing it, and the reasoning behind it. And I did catch some shit over it. Right, we're never running your shit again. They backed off for a couple shows, and then guess who was back?
Yep.
Not saying that I was the fucking holy trinity of Derbian, but I'm just saying that if you make smart decisions, they will finally realize that you did it for the betterment of that. So, and it just sucks whenever we had such a good thing going, and then everything changed. In 23, all these rules changed. All these guys had these parts. They were building to this. This was the build style, and then they get that shit thrown in their lap.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to explain to some of them boys too. Is this isn't a street stock class?
Correct.
That's where a lot of these guys aren't. Like I've had 3 guys message me and it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this brace you're in now? I'm like, you stepped into that. You're gonna have to take the brace off. Or you're going to have to keep it and put it in the pile and find a guy that's going to have shows that are allowed in street stock.
Here's the thing with the brace we're in. 90% of them just have a 2x2 contoured on the backside.
Yeah.
Welded on. That's gravy. That's a fucking hour worth of plasma cutter or
and I told them they can leave an inch on that. I did tell them that. I said, if you have a brace you're in and you're wanting to run my show and you're wanting to bring it, leave an inch so you're not getting close to your axle. I understand. Leave an inch. But cut that whole tube off, but leave an inch.
And there's an accommodation factor there, too, that could have been done. We did it. There was talk about it whenever we were thinking about moving into the 23 season. if they wanted to run a braced rear end, I was on the fence. I was going to let them do it, but they had to run a stock trailing arm.
Yeah.
No reinforcement whatsoever.
Zero. Yeah. Factory. Well, at that point, we watched Mr. Austin Johnson have a heavy rear end laying on the track.
Delete.
Yep. You see it all the time. How you see it in the street stock cars.
Mm-hmm.
Trailing arms, first thing to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a point of protecting an investment. And I mean, it's just like anything. You buy parts. I bought parts. Derek's bought parts. The shit's fucking high.
It is high.
The braced rear end thing, though, that's for another time. I mean, that.
But you hit on it. Bumper.
Yes.
I did have a sit down with one of the guys from Madison. The only bumper that they actually have an issue with is gauges.
Right.
The Amish pointy.
Yes.
For the simple fact that he says the point is bigger than a Chrysler manufactured, with the quotation marks, the Chrysler manufactured dimensions. You're the Mopar guy. Is it 11 inch
11
point?
inches.
They're saying that the Amish pointy is more than that.
I think he said 14.
With the structures.
And I'm going to catch some shit over this if I'm not right, but I think there was 2 different pointies.
Yes.
In there. There was an imp pointy, and I'm pretty sure it does measure 14 inches. I'm not going to swear to that.
There is a different point, yes. You're right.
There's 2 of those because the manufactured bumpers that Mike is making out here, those are a true
factory dimension Chrysler pointy.
But I'm pretty sure, and I'd have to look. Like I said, don't eat me alive on that. But,
which if you look at them, if you've got 2 of them sitting there, if you've got a reman Chrysler pointy to an Amish pointy,
right,
there does look like there's a difference.
Yeah. Well, and
I haven't personally put a measuring tape on them.
I'm not going to speak too much on that because I don't have the shit set in front of me. Now, I do know a couple guys that's got the Amish pointies, and I know the guys that's got, the hand pointies, so I can throw tape on the shit, and we can come back to that.
Yeah.
We'll do that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure factory Chrysler dimensions are 11-inch point.
That's what I was thinking.
And see,
you got to watch out. Like, that's why I like the manufactured bumpers over a homemade pointy, because those are 2 different things. Because I've seen homemade pointies that look like a fucking splitting wedge.
Yes.
I've had one of those. I brought one to your show.
Where you just
I literally welded 2
Yeah.
pieces of C-channel together like this. And that thing was like, I was a little scared myself to drive it. I was I'm going to hurt somebody if I don't watch what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, So in that token, what I think what they were really getting at is to do away with Amish pointies, because wasn't there a couple years reman bumpers or manufactured bumpers are allowed except
an
Amish pointy.
Yes.
Well, and honestly, to word that in the rules, if a person wanted to, and like I said, I'd have to check on that if there is a difference in the pointies, between an imp and a shocker or whatever. If there is a difference, all you got to do is put a manufactured bumper legal to that class.
Yeah.
Well, and right there, if it is the imp bumper that is the issue, well, that's going to take that out of the equation.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's what our problem is we were at the point where if you show up with a bumper and you're saying, this is a Chrysler pointy bumper replica, and I bought it. It is a Chrysler pointy. But it measures 2 or 3 inches longer, and it's not an imp or they didn't stretch it or nothing like that. What do? I mean, your hands are tied if you bought it as a Chrysler.
Well, yeah, but if you're stupid enough to buy a bumper that you didn't put a fucking tape measure on, well, I put that back on the driver. I'm sorry. If this comes back to Tanya's favorite saying of mine, I didn't build your fucking car.
I like that.
Use a fucking tape measure.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the guys that showed up every fucking show with their door bars too long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to do that to get this. I'm like, well, you should have read the fucking tape measure.
Correct.
Like,
not an Illinois tape measure either.
Right.
Missouri tape measure.
I don't know how to read mine.
But, on that bumper rule, and because you guys are allowing like a 76 Impala replica, correct?
Yes.
There is a major difference
Right.
A 74 Impala replica to a 76 replica. The dimensions, the point, where you guys are.
It almost
For the Derby guys,
yeah.
usually the old iron guys are running the 76 style. It's more rounded. It's a little bit more protecting.
Well, see, with that
suspension.
being said, because you're allowed to load a bumper in your class, correct?
Yes.
So if I take a factory Chrysler pointy
and you put the
say I buy one of those inserts
from
So as long as the motherfucker's got a skin on it, you run it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And see, that's where my issue is with the fucking rule. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're running a manufactured bumper. Because Gage, Mr. Amish Pointy himself, used to do that.
Yes.
He sold them that way.
Yep. Yeah, that's when Gage started manufacturing bumpers. That's pretty much how he started.
Remember, he was looking for every skin in the world.
Oh, yes.
But I'm thinking the way they, I read over the rules and I did have to, say, hey, what about this bumper rule? I think what they're trying to do, because I'm the one that stepped up and was like, hey, we're gonna let these replicas in,
right.
But if you guys are worried about these Chrysler pointies, because they're worried about them, okay, let's delete them. You want to get rid of them? Let's get rid of them. I think, I was like, we can't get rid of all these replicas because you're taking a lot of guys out. You're taking already enough guys out. With
you're
the
taking
Chryslers.
a shitload of people out.
And I'm like, you're planning on just ruining it all. You're not going to have a show.
No.
And then they're like, well, then what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, if you want to, I'd rather leave them all. But if you want to get rid of the Chryslers, okay. But we're not going to be able to get rid of the Impalas because I know many of people that run them, and it just won't work. They're not going to sell.
What can you go buy? You go buy a 76 Impala bumper.
You can buy the kit off like NLR for like $450.
Correct, but you're going to go buy a factory one for roughly $500.
Yes.
Then you're going to have to
buy an insert,
put the fucking insert,
and that's
or
$300.
stuff all your metal all up in it, plus all your welding wire.
Uh-huh.
You can get an SMS manufactured bumper for $900.
Yeah, well,
I believe.
You can buy them right out here off Myco for what? $6
something for his out there. Yeah. NLR still has their put together kit. Ham still got their put together kit. So really, a manufactured bumper minus gauges is the cheapest way to go.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to explain to them. But they're like, "Well, we want that stock appeal." That's what they're
Make them put a fucking skin on it.
Yes, and that's what I was saying.
But then the person that's going to bitch, once somebody doesn't have that skin attached perfect, skin's going to fall off the bumper. And then you're going to stop the Derby and have to pull that fucking skin off that track. And then the guy's got to go look for another skin.
Or chrome spray paint.
There you go. I like
went back to it. Yes.
How much is a can of fucking chrome spray paint?
About $4.
Because I'm telling you from the stands, if you can look down there and be like, that did not come out on a car. Like, that never come out. Nobody's doing that.
Correct.
I have never once had somebody from the fucking stands come up to the fence behind me and be like, hey, that doesn't look stock.
The only time I've ever had anything happen is 8-lug rear end.
That is where I was about to go.
That is the only time I've ever had anybody.
They said that they'll never come back to another show to watch a show because of an 8-lug rear end. He said they were cheating with that 8-lug rear end.
So how many people said that?
I don't know. It's what I got told. This was a story because I'm the one that made the 8-lugs come back because Josh Gordon was like, what do you want? I said, to be honest with you, I don't want to fight with these people about rear ends anymore. Like, let them run any
I never
stock
had
rear
anybody
end.
bitch about the rear end rule. Really, I didn't.
Well, but you see, you were doing good too, though, running that street stock class because there was a couple guys that were running 8-lugs in your street stock class. Right. So they went ahead and like, okay, well, if I'm going to I got an 8-lug laying here, I'm going to weld a brace on it and I'm running the class up.
Right.
And that's where I'm at. I got 2 guys that came from your shows on street stock.
Right.
That were like, we got 8-lug rear ends. Okay. That's 2 guys, though. That's only 2 guys. But then I was talking to Josh Gordon about it, and he goes, well, there's a couple guys from Kansas City that were saying that that's the reason they wouldn't step down and run your stock class. So I got a hold of them. They're like, yeah, we'd come if we were allowed to run 8-lugs. So my main goal is to pull some cars from a different town.
Dude, where you're at in the Marshall, Sedalia, Slater area, you're kind of out there on the far west side where you're not going to get Illinois cars, really.
No.
You might get a few Northeast Missouri cars, but you can accommodate a little bit more to the Chad Markley type of cars.
Right.
You know, just over on that
Kansas side.
far east side on Kansas.
Right.
Plus your southern Missouri, down in your Springfield area. Plus your area itself all the way up to Madison.
And that's where I was at. I was pulling some cars out of like...
St. Joe really did.
Yeah, St. Joe. Yeah. We were pulling some cars. That's actually where one of the cars came from, St. Joe.
Well, them dudes were coming over. They were running here.
Yeah.
They were,
Oh, yeah. Shelby Burton.
Shelby Burton. He came with... He came from St. Joe and brought his...
Joe?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he brought his two boys from Kansas City.
Right.
They came down, and then Eric Shores came over with them, and them four ran together in that street stock class. That's what I was saying. My main goal is to try to... Even if, you know, another promoter comes in, I want to move forward on getting other cars from other places because you know it. We go to Madison and it's literally a team show pretty much. You got 10 guys from Madison, 8 or 9 guys from our spot.
Right.
It's a team show. We battle it out until whoever's last. And normally I get along with Hendren and them.
Right.
So I kind of leave them alone.
Correct.
And we go after more of the people I don't know, and like
you figure you're going to get it the fuck on at the end.
Yeah,
let's don't junk our shit until we're down to the nut cutting time,
and that's
then
normally the way it goes.
That's why I loved what we had going on because you didn't know who was going to be at what show.
Oh, your show at Paris, the last one was crazy. I showed up and I seen a guy from Eldon when they were running a show. Lucky Sevens was running a show the same night. You had Tyler Ray there.
Yeah.
I had a buddy come from Slater to run your stock class, and he was young, first time ever running, or second time running. He ran Slater first and then ran here second for a second show. And I was just like, holy moly, that dude came all the way from... It surprised me when I pulled in. I'm like, he's from Eldon.
The first Halloween Havoc we ever had, that had 170 cars, we had a dude from Terre Haute, Indiana, dragged down here.
They were wanting to finish their shit. And we have said that so many times. Nobody wants to sit on a car.
All winter.
Well, now we're seeing it. The guys who are sitting on a car, you do a rule change. A significant rule change. You might as well cut that bitch apart and take it to the scrap, save your cage, your rear ends, whatever you need to save. But that just leaves so much to chance to either, man, I got to finish this thing. So fuck it. I'll drive 6 hours.
Right.
Or I'll drive 4 hours, or I'll drive 2. I'd rather do that, take a chance of winning some money, taking this piece of shit home, and taking it straight to the shop to cut it apart.
Right.
Or,
that's what I told Steven. I was like, man.
Yeah.
I told him, I called him. I'm like, hey, man, I need to come to your show at Paris. I'm like, I don't care what class I got to run and what I got to cut. I got to get rid of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to sit on, when you get to Rob and Trey, Teddy now, after Blizzard Bash, they all have something left.
Right.
And that would be a class, to be honest with you right now, because if you looked at all the cars that ran that show, there was some that got junked, but a lot of them went out over mechanical failure. Like, there was a lot of cars.
Trey shit sitting there, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot. If somebody in the state of Missouri right now would say, okay, we're going to run this class here.
This week, if they did it this week, with the weather being as nice as it is,
so we're going to run
motherfucking...
You'd have a show.
Yes. You would, them guys...
You take 57 degree weather and you started the show at noon right now, you would have so many fucking cars you would know what to do with.
Just like you have said, even on the compact side, early, that is where you want to go ahead, hey, we're going to do this one time.
Right.
We're going to do this April 15th. Cradle cars allowed, Blizzard Bash rules, Capital Carnage rules for your compacts.
And I was talking to them about that, but I couldn't get none of them on it. So I texted that Lucky Sevens promotion. I'm like, you guys should run it. Because they have guys down there that run it. I mean, they have a team down there from Blizzard Bash. I'm like, Pickens and them, their cars, I seen them, Snapchats of them, they're still in good shape.
Yeah. So right there, you
Verdon and them are still in good shape.
You've got Hobbs and Verdon's team.
Yep.
You got Tyler's team.
You got
OEM team. Then you've got Brady Smith's team.
Yep. And then who knows how
There's
many cars?
16
Dudley.
motherfuckers right there, and then Big D, and you know.
And then you don't even know like all the cars from
Well, you'll
Kansas
pull them out of
teams.
there, yeah.
You can pull a Kansas
Then
team.
you're going to have a Vosmer group that says, "Man, we've got cradles. All we got to do is set them down here."
Right.
Next thing you know, you got 20 dudes.
Yeah, and them
Well, they're
boys.
gonna fucking put
Them
it.
boys come to play.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not right sure if I'd even want to mess with a Vosmer in a street stock car.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, you got to watch that shit and make it happen, because that's how it works. That's how our shit worked. Like, that's how Filthy Promotions made its fucking made its way to where it was.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just going to try to, learn from this year. And, and I might have to make a real change in the middle of the year. If I get enough guys that come up to me and are like, hey, man, we really want this. And there's enough of them. If I pull 20, let's say I pull 20 stock cars at the first show and 15 of them say, hey, we want this. And then there's another 5 or 6 that are on the sideline saying we want it, then we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what the other 5 have to say. If they don't like it, it happens,
It's just like we spoke about Boone County Beatdown. There was more drivers in the stands than there was on the track.
Oh.
One, first Derby back in Columbia since 2015.
Feeling it out.
Checking it out, seeing how it was going to go. Even guys who have never run our stuff before, they
were
are still sitting there watching. They're like, hold on. This is kind of in the central located in the state. It's a couple hour drive. It's no big deal. We're not having to go all the way up to Shelbina or Paris or something like that. Let's see what it's up. We'll see how it's going. And
if they would have all brought cars, we would have had a fucking show.
I'll tell you this much.
my.
I had to fill Paris out up here for a couple times. I was like, I show up one time and I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. I come back to the next one. I'm like, oh man, I better switch some things around before I show up there.
Yeah.
It was good though. Like I watched it when it was the Joe Martin deal up here. And
Right.
that show actually was you guys did a good job what y'all brought in. I mean, whatever happened there happened, but like far as the actual car count and like, you had Bo Bartz and Tyler Baker going at it, that's every time.
Right.
That's every time. The green flag drops. I don't know where
that could
came
be
from.
in Kansas. That could be in
It doesn't
Minnesota. It
Yeah,
don't
it doesn't
Them
matter.
two are just going to fuck on.
Yes. As soon as the green flag dropped, I was like, yep, Tyler dumped the clutch and took off. I was like, oh boy.
There you hit on the learning experience, because after that, guess what? Taller walls,
Yep.
straight cut walls, where you're not having that issue.
And everything was they pushed one car on the wall there, but that was just because he had that T-Berg up in the air so far. It took
Ramped it.
Yeah, it
but
ramped it.
I think our berms were big enough. I don't know if you could have ever got all the way.
Oh, he wasn't going all the way over. There was no way.
Because you would have had to like send it from one end of the track to the other. Like, you would have had to ramp it.
Been like had to be running 50 and no
Push the
brakes.
burn- you break the burn.
Well, I know where I got hung up in the corner. There was no way I was going over it. And I went up. I mean, that wagon
You
of
went
Kelsey's
up.
picked me up on
Yeah.
the side of it like that and set me up on there. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't going over it. There was no way.
So this is your first full tilt season.
Yes.
What shows have you guys have for 2023?
We have Higbee, Salisbury, Higbee, and Slater.
So you have four. Two
But-
at Higbee.
Yep, 2 at Higbee. And we have Slater's our September show.
Right.
So, and I've had a big fuss, and you guys are probably gonna fuss at me too. We decided to go ahead and it's really not a points deal. It's a points deal, but it's not a points deal. It's kind of like how you guys did yours. How it was the driver. If you show up to Higbee and junk your full size, and you don't have time for a month, because you work 7 days a week. And Derek's like, hey, man, I got a gut and go sitting in the garage. You can bring that and still collect points, But, and they're all like, well, that's...
Bring a compact.
Yeah. They were like, well, that's not fair. I'm like, well, here's the deal. It's free money for you guys that we're putting together, and it's trophies that we're putting together for you guys. So, like, when do you get just thank you,
You'll never have.
You never get that.
You will never.
And I
ever
was just
want to get it.
like I was telling Josh, I'm like, we're putting all this money together for this point steal. And who even knows the guys that are complaining if they're even going to show up?
Correct. They might come to the first one and
Yeah.
never come to another one.
Talk's cheap.
Yes. And I was just like, I just ignored it. I was like, okay, man, I'm sorry that it's not going to work out for you, and went on. There's no reason to argue about it.
Right.
You will learn real quick. You've got to pick your battles.
Yes.
Stay off Facebook.
Yeah. And see, that's what I learned too. Yeah, I already seen fuck Showtime Officials 2 or 3 times. It is what it is. You don't like it, I'm sorry that you're not going to come run my show. I really would like you to be there, but
There's the thing, though. We have talked so many times. There's so many other promotion companies in this state. If you're not happy with what's you were doing or with what
J&B's
doing, there's other places to go.
And that was my other thing is, like, they're all like, well, we need to have the whole Missouri on the same rules. Why do you want that?
Well, I like the thought of a unified rule setting, especially in one area.
Yeah.
Where
I-70 North.
Yes. Whatever, something like that. That way that, say that I work a weekend that you've got a show, but then the next weekend,
J&B's got a show.
J&B's got a show.
And you can go to
And I'm
that.
going to run that.
Yeah, and I understand that.
But
My deal
we've
is...
touched on that shit so much, it doesn't make a fuck whether you copy and paste my rules, vice versa,
Yeah.
I do that to yours. Your text's going to be different than mine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
For sure.
I'm looking to these guys, if you had, and I talked to Derek more, but I think I did too. You look at, like, drag racing. Every dragway, even the small ones, have to go by NHRA standards, but can add to it, but can't take away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would be cool with that, but my deal is this might step on somebody's toes, but
My foot's right
if I was going to go to your guys' show, right, I'm going to run your show, and I know Jerry Lowry's not going to let much by.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But I know I can weld some more stuff on and go to Clark's or to J&B's, and they're going to let just a little bit more by.
Mm-hmm.
So my deal is when I got a car that's close to getting junked that I'm running at your guys' show, I'm going to throw a little bit extra on it. I'm going to go to a different show. That's what I was trying to explain to these guys. They're all like, we want to run here.
Right.
And like we want all the rules same so that we can go here, here, and here, and here. I'm like, oh, that's fine. But if I have 4 shows, Will Lawrence has 1 show and he's working on another one, I think. If he has those 2, our rules are pretty close.
Right.
Madison's rules are really close. I mean, you can do a little bit of adjustment and you can go. But there's no other. J&B is kind of you can go there and run,
Right.
So you can run Madison. What I'm trying to say is you can run Madison, Will's show, my shows. If you guys are still running filthy shows and be close to the rules. But then you could go to J&B and finish something off by adding a little extra.
So you're talking 7 or 8 shows with a little bit of adjustment. You could run 2 or 3 more.
Yes.
As long as the fucking texts are consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where you're at.
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make a fuck what you put on paper.
Yes. If your
If,
tech...
if the fucking tech is inconsistent, that shit does not matter. You might as well wipe your ass with it and throw it in the fucking trash.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what I tried to tell these other guys too is I'm like, so if you think it's not unfair when you show up to my tech line, everybody's going to think it's not unfair because I told my tech guy that I have, we're taking every car the same. I don't care who it is. I don't care what his name is. If he's your best friend, you tell me. Because if he's your best friend, I want you to stand over there and I'm going to tech his car.
Right.
It's the same way it goes. So they got mad because I let my brother run Slater.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not touch his car.
Well, see, and here's the issue.
And you didn't tech his car.
I did not tech his car. He actually took his car to Russell Shaw's house to fix it from Madison. Because I said, if you're running Slater, I don't want you near me.
Which, and we eliminated that shit. We just didn't let anybody run.
Yeah.
It's like his boy, my brother-in-laws, and shit like that. We just didn't let him run.
Yeah. And that's what I kind of like what I leaned to my brother about. I'm like, hey, man, next year I think you probably should go, probably go to Filthy's, but that was my goal. I was sitting here thinking, okay, I can get these 4 or 5 shows, and then I can be running Filthy shows, and then come to these to tech, and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
Right.
You kind of threw a curveball at me.
We fucked that up a little bit.
So now I'm like, where am I going now? But yeah, so that's what I tried to tell them, though. I was like, Russell Shaw. Me and him we hit off Madison, my second show I ever ran. Me and him hit it off as buddies. We've been buddies ever since. So I told him, Toby Chapman was my second tech. He was my tech guy. I said, you tech his car. He's my buddy, but I want you to tech his car just like you would anybody else's. So he ran through. Russell had to cut. And that's the way I think it should be because you got buddies. Like, I mean, you were partying up last night with some of your buddies that run your show. So,
but in that same instance,
I'm not.
That's why he's not there
to
teching
tech
that car.
Yes, and that's where I was at with it. I'm like,
That's why I hired a head tech.
Yes,
and
he's good,
and he knows all those guys and shit. But
as long as he keeps it fair, that's all
you
that
don't
matters.
feel
And he keeps,
favoritism.
Yeah.
He was good. Like I said, he was good to me whenever I showed up to both y'all's shows. I appreciated him. He was fair at least.
The thing about our techs is we understand there's some ticky-tack shit that's not going to make a difference.
Yes.
9-0 zilch.
But,
yeah, but Jerry still called some of that shit.
But he did. And I would see Jerry's like, hey.
Hell, the fucking
trim
fights
that weld down.
The fights that him and Rob and them had over fucking half-inch of weld.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey. But they, that's what it is. Half-inch of weld's half-inch of weld,
Yep.
And that's another thing, is I got a bunch of grief on my compact tech. Some guys were like, well, we're not coming to your show because he's your tech. Then what do you do?
So who's your compact tech?
It is
Travis Sawyer.
Travis Sawyer. He got me
Travis Sawyer?
Yes.
Who Travis and Kenneth were teammates. Ran a lot together. I have always usually kind of stayed away from any kind of compact stuff.
I do too. That's why I said you got it and it's yours.
I got I got some homework treated to me just a while back, and I had no clue what all these guys are doing.
Yeah, I learned a little.
Holy fuck.
I learned a little the other day too, and I was like, oof. But see, that's the thing. What I got told is that they don't want to run this show because they don't want to run my shows because Travis
will catch
them because he taught them a couple things. And I'm like, well, don't do it then. I mean,
correct.
If you don't have it in your car and the next guy does, Travis isn't going to let him run.
Correct.
Because I told him, I said I wanted 100% fair and I want him to catch everything.
Yeah.
And you can't catch everything. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way because
you're
trying to. I mean, what's your time limit on a car? You're trying to get it in and out of there in like 10, 15, 45 minutes.
Yeah, we have, but you're still never going to catch everything.
No, you're trying to, keep going, but like you're not going to catch everybody's stuff.
And usually, we always said those little compact cars are so hard. Well, I kind of found out why they're so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I'm just, fuck you.
Nah,
I would never.
I want to see old Steven in one.
But my big deal with the whole rule shit is
get back in one, pussy.
What?
Get back in a compact.
No.
Compact. Come on,
But,
Steven.
no,
Steven for compact in 2023.
Yeah, no. The only compact you all see me in is my Mopar after they fuck it up in Illinois.
Then it will be the same size.
But, well, now we touched on that. It's a new year.
It is a new year. Jesus Christ. 2022 flew by.
Kind of. Derby season couldn't have got over fucking quick enough.
So, you hit off just a little bit ago. We were talking before we hit the button. You have nobody in your family that got you into derbying.
No, I started, like I said, Marshall, Missouri used to have one of the craziest, rowdiest derbies you ever go to.
In the middle of a fucking yard.
Yes, in a yard. It was a yard. For real.
Like,
the Joneses would show up. Joe Martin and them would show up. Gonzalez's would show up. And it would just be a beat down. Like, they would beat each other to death. And I was like, I want to do this. So when I got old enough, and then I was like, no, maybe I don't want to do this. And then I went to welding school and traveled a little bit. And I was like, I got home. I'm like, you know what? Let's try it out. Started just, I've learned a lot from other people, I think is what the main thing is. Like, I've watched and I've learned and I've trial and errored my own stuff. Mm-hmm. And,
Well, dude, I remember came to Madison that first year that you ran. But then I remember a Higbee show where it was you and Trent Horn.
Yeah.
Zero motherfucks given, dude. Just wide open. You were standing on the trailer with me when I was announcing it, and I'm talking that shit got rowdy. And I was like, man, I never heard these two dudes do this at Madison.
Right.
And then you kind of kept going, and then I think Trent kind of backed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Didn't he? And then he came back this year.
This year,
or 2022.
Yes, he came back in 2022. He had to take some time off. He had some. So the year after that whole deal went down at Higbee and all that, and we got pretty. I mean, we got to where we wanted to drive more for the crowd than we did for ourselves. Like everybody's like, "Oh, if you show up to a derby and you're not planning on winning, you shouldn't show up." Well, that's me. I'll tell you right now. I'll come there by myself and have fun. You know, that's what I do. But Trent took one of my cars. I had a green and black car, and he cut his arm open real bad on it, and he got an infection in it. So he's like, I'm gonna sit back for a while. So he took a year or two off to get healed up and to learn more. He is still helping me in the pits and stuff and everything. But yeah, he came back this year, and he was. That's just. I don't know. We like to have fun, I guess.
Well, that night at Higbee, that shit was fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to announce. Just everybody on the local.
I love the shit on the track that was or on the walls that was happening. That was.
Oh yes, somebody get on a wall, and it was hammer time. And then some fights broke out for somebody that was on a wall that somebody was trying to pick the car off the wall.
That was Henry Ray and Anthony Stark came up and ran with me and Trent that night in them American flag cars, and actually the car I was in was actually Anthony Stark's old Lebanon car, and he goes, you can just take it, learn from it, don't just take it and use it, learn from it. And that's actually where I learned how to build your cage the right way. Correct. My first car was built with 4-inch C channel down the doors. I ran it at Salisbury. It ran one time. Justin Thomas, his grandpa. Yeah, and them old iron Lincolns, stay away from those.
those all Mark 5s and Mark 8s. They ain't no fucking joke.
Yes.
Well, it was Epi, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, Eppies were there.
I think it's his
grandpa. But Rick Elam.
Elam. Yes, he. Yeah, them cars are tough.
Oh, Rick.
You stay away from those.
He knows a thing or two.
Was that whenever they had all the Nuck and Futz cars there?
Yes.
I was there around that year.
Yeah,
I ran that 94 Lincoln.
Yeah, that year I ran up there. Me and my cousin Doug. Cousin Doug brought a front wheel drive Tornado and took third place in that thing. Yes, we were like, that's how new we were. We were so green, we didn't know what a good car was. I had a square body Ford that I bought, and I didn't know it was a good car at the time. I didn't know how to make it a good car either. And we showed up, and Joe Martin looked in our cars, and he said, "Y'all sure y'all want to run?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're here to run." So we went out there, we had fun, but it was. That's whenever I knew Tyler Baker, because Logan Baker, which a lot of people don't know him.
Logan lives in Marshall.
Yes, Logan lives in Marshall. He's not a Bowling Green. He's from Bowling Green, but he's not a Bowling Green like forever.
Right.
Like he moved back. He moved here when we were young. So Tyler Baker kind of took me under his wing and showed me a thing or two and was like, "Hey man, if you're gonna drive this thing, use the back of it, not the front of it, because you do not know what you're doing with the front of this thing. There's nothing there."
Yeah.
I mean, I had the Ford stock motor in it and everything. We were just out there to have fun. And
well, Steven's brother-in-law gets into one that's really a straight-up bone stock car. Still had the original 4.6 in it. The
dash
car
was still in it.
The dash
you're
was
talking
still
about
in
the
it.
one you guys brought to Salisbury.
Yes. Still had the factory steering column in it, shifter, everything, and he run top 5 with it.
Yeah. Hey, you'll be surprised.
Well, everybody, I mean, that car was stock as rock as far as drivetrain, but I did have 6 plates on the fucking car.
Well, you had to.
And I knew where to put the fucking plates.
He brings this bitch to my house still on trailer. He's like, "What can we do to the ass?" Tell him don't load this side first.
I ripped the frame rail off of it. I ended up pulling the frame rail off of it because the hump was fucked on it. I tried to pull it out with skid loader and shit. And I got it out, but it
that was the night that Martins were up there with that. He hit you with that Cadillac in the back of that thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
See, I still had a perfect car after that Derby because I got stuck on fucking Mike's bumper.
Yep.
And he was like, just push me backwards, the transmission's out. I was like, yeah, this fucking 600-pound car is going to push that fucking 12,000-pound Cadillac around out here. I was like, I might as well be out here with a fucking golf cart pedal tractor.
He might as well cut a hole in the floor.
Because I was going, whoa! Spinning the tires off of him forward, backwards. He was like, back up. I was like, it won't. Like, I am. But
we are in reverse, Terry, and it's not going to
happen. He's like,
we're in reverse, Jerry.
He's like, push me forward. I was like, I can't. Like,
back it up, Terry.
And he'd let it set for a little bit. He'd fire it up, try to back off. I mean, it would pull for just a minute and fuck transmission quit again. Because I wanted to get over there and play. That was, I could see what was going on. I was like, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that night I ended up junking my car that night.
Well, that fucking car that Mike had. Holy fucking hard.
I'll tell you what.
That was that Galaxy.
Joe was in the Galaxy.
Joe was in the Galaxy, yeah. And then Mike was in that C-Channel Caddy. Yeah, that's...
And then they brought... Don't knock that new style they brought either.
That
new style of... what's his name?
That Joe?
Mark Isgrig.
Yeah.
Oh, Bubba?
Yeah.
Bubba
they brought that.
Me and him hit in the heat, and my shit was moving. I was like, fuck. And my shit was cheated to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was. There was 9 plates on that car whenever I took it.
Yeah. Yeah, this...
Like, that was the Mopar that the K-frame was wrapped and shit on. Because I didn't need a A-arm strap.
Yeah.
So.
It still moves. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but I didn't think it was going to move that quick.
Yeah, that's... You know, where you started to not giving a shit, which that I have figured that out about you guys. You are there to turn it up, to put on a show, not looking for that check. I think you guys would rather have that Mad Dog than you would a regular paycheck.
For sure.
Man, you get jumping into all this side. We have talked on several episodes about so many of these guys who used to always run the local stuff, and now they're all wanting to run the big show stuff. Are you guys worried about on the promotion side on how that's going to affect, one, your car count, and B, you being able to now, if you don't want to run any local stuff, now you can go to the Spring X. You can go to the Metal Mayhem, what's that one in Hot Springs we were just talking about?
Havoc.
Yes. Havoc, Blizzard Bash, Capital Carnage,
Whiskey City,
River City Rampage, Wicked Team shows. Now you guys you've got this huge playing field. Can you guys adjust to that from putting your stuff on and then being able to spread out a little bit to really hit that big stuff?
Well, far as like you're talking, far as like a driver getting in a car and being able to come to our local show and then step up and go to something else.
No, like personally.
Me personally, I don't. I would like to go run somewhere like that,
right?
But I just don't know. The way I look at it is, I don't know if I'm confident enough in my build to drive 3 hours to take a chance. I hate saying that, or more than 3 hours because I drive 2 hours here.
Right.
But like, I think I'm at the point where I'm still like, I know most of the basics and to get on through. But far as reading into the rules in depth and trying to get people, like, because them rules out there are a little tricky, like Capital City Carnage rules and stuff. There's some huge twist in them rules that you can use. And I don't know if I'm capable of building a car for that, because like I build out of a garage that's like, I'm talking a detached garage on a house that you can park 2 cars in and barely walk around them. And we build 3 cars out of them a year. So people are like, oh, you guys, everybody's like, we work so hard building these cars. And I'm like, do you guys have a tractor? And they're like, yeah, we got a skid loader. I'm like, yeah, I don't have one of those. You know how I get the body off of a car to switch the body mount bolts? Me, Trent Horn, and my brother, we jack them up far as we can, and we pick them up and push them off. And then we roll them back on. And then everybody else is like, oh, well, we got a skid loader. We just pick the body off, set it off the side, roll it in the shop, put it on a lift. Well, I don't have a lift. I got a little, I was so broke when I started Derby, and I had a Snap-on account, so I bought a Snap-on welder and I bought a cutting torch, and that was where I started. And then I had tools because I've been a mechanic for a long time. So I had tools. That's how I started. I got this little bitty shed. I'm talking, you pull right now, I have a car in there like this, and the body's rolled off the side so that I can switch the rear end, because I think it's so much easier to switch the rear end with the body off, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Definitely being a Watts Link car.
Yes,
so.
I way agree with that.
I seen somebody on Snapchat not too long ago. They had the little hand crank jack that could get in the car factory. They were using it to jack the body up off the frame.
Yep. Oh, we
had a drill on it.
Don't hate a scissor jack.
No, I'm saying, I mean,
because that scissor jack, I've put cages in with fucking scissor jacks. I mean,
see, Logan Baker's the same way. He's built a couple stock cars. He was rolling bodies off with a cherry picker because that's all he had was a cherry picker, And people are like, oh, well, we work hard on these. I'm like, man, if they came to my shop and I was looking around some of these guys' shop, I'm like, if y'all came to my shop, y'all would hate life. You guys, everybody's like, why does it take you so long to build a car? You must be cheating. I said, no, man. It is, you got to move this, this, and this to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've worked in some of the biggest shops probably that you can ever walk into, but it's still so much shit and time.
Yeah.
And then you go down to a 20 by 20 with all your bullshit in there, with no lift, with it's hard. It makes it rough.
They're like, you can change them trainings pretty quick. I said, yeah, if I take it to my work and roll it on a friggin' on a lift.
On your lift, yep.
But if not, if I'm doing it on the ground, I'm picking it up and stabbing it there by myself. But yeah, we haven't really. I don't know if I would be capable of. I actually signed up for Capital City Carnage for the street stock class, and I didn't get in. I tried. I was kind of late on it. That filled up so quick.
Well, just like Steven's always said, he doesn't really care. He'll take an ass whooping at a big show just as long. I mean, just the same as he takes an ass whooping at a local show. I mean, that's definitely said that.
Well, Steven's going to take that everywhere he goes. He kind of rolls by himself. To be honest, that's what I always like when they showed up to Madison. I'm like, I feel bad for Steven. I'm going to go over and talk to him. I'm going to run with him because everybody's going to jump on Steven because it's just Steven and his guy. Yeah. And everybody else over there is all lined up, parked by each other. Yeah. You got Steven and his double car hauler over there, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go hang out with Steven, I guess.
They were scared of the Mopars.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to hang out with Steven. Them guys can they can hold their own. Which I don't really pick teams because I know I have enough battles out there that I ain't got to worry about it. There's people that don't like me, and that's another thing. Everybody's like, you're getting in the promote world. They're really not going to like you.
Well, here's the thing that we have actually talked about. I'm going to cover up. When you are different, when you go to a derby and you got 20 stock cars, and there's 2 Cadillacs, 2 Impalas, 15 Lincolns or Vics, and 1 Mopar, and I'm not saying that fucking with him. I'm saying just he's different. So, we've never really been around him. We've never really ran against him. Let's get this fucker up on the wall and out of the way. Just in case.
Yeah, just in case there's something
he's got an imp sub under that front of that son of a bitch instead of his little in-body stuff. Yeah. So let's get him gone.
And that's what's crazy.
I've only, out of all the derbies that I've ran, and I mean, this is about the only plus to my fucking derbying career. The only one that I didn't make it to the feature in was Warrenton. And every other show that I've run, I've made it to the feature, at least in the top half of the class. But
that was like my goal there for the longest time. I always made it to the feature. Like, that was my goal. I didn't care how I had to get there. I got there. Mm-hmm. Like, if it came down to me and 3 other guys from Madison in the heat, or from mainly Madison, because that's who the local shows. I've never really ran out of local shows, So I was like, well, it's time to break off. I'm not fighting 3 of them. Like, I'll just go to the consigne so I make it to the feature to where I at least have some help.
I'd rather everybody says, well, that's chicken shit. That's pussy. No, that's smart.
Well, and I'm stupid.
3-1.
Which I've done it, though. I was stupid enough to try it, and I learned there real quick. Them sliders aren't cheap when they slide you up on the wall sideways and snap them. Like, because I'm dumb and I don't know how to let off the gas, so I'm just holding it to the floor the whole time while they're trying to shove me around and snap the slider. I'm like,
there goes 4.
That was my brother-in-law that was in that Lincoln. I told him, because I made it through the heat, and he was in the same heat as I was, but I knew there wasn't a way. I mean, I helped him as much as I could. They stuck him in the fucking wall.
Right off the bat,
Yeah.
too. I remember I drove right beside him.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
And I tried to get him off.
Yeah.
I tried. I mean, I worked on it longer than I should have. Really.
Talking about that show, the funniest thing I think I seen was old Dylan Johnson that night.
Oh, that car was up on top of him?
Yeah, all of it. He was flat on the floor in that consi the whole time. Like, right off the green flag, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, you know Dylan, but you didn't know his daddy.
Yeah, I didn't know his daddy. I hung out with Dylan a lot, actually.
I rode with his daddy.
Oh, yeah?
And that ZFG zero fucks given.
Yeah, that's there, huh?
Dylan gets it pretty damn honest.
Hey, I'll tell you, that Mopar of his, he blows her up a lot, I think, because he ain't scared to let her eat, but that's because, but if you did that in a small block Chevy, you'd do the same thing. Like, he don't let off. Like,
right.
He's there until the motor goes or the tranny goes or somebody knocks him up on the dirt to get him to stop.
Yeah, we've tried to kind of calm him down a little bit, but man, I'm gonna chill out. Okay. Drop the green flag and it's full tilt retard, boy. Just wah! I was like, well, that talk didn't work.
I asked
Full tilt retard.
But his dad was wide open, but his dad was calculating at the same time.
But yeah, like that whole Salisbury, that shit was a good day. I mean, that was fun. It was a fucking blast.
It was.
Wish that I could have run a little bit longer, but
That's what happens when you have a caddy park on your ass.
well, me and him were we're kind of fucking around. Is what we were doing.
Fucked around and got pregnant is what you did.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't pull out quite fast enough. They're in this world of derby and this sport. Everything is progressing some way. Some are degressing a little bit, but I don't think the build styles are degressing. Maybe leveling out a little bit. Because that 2013, 14, 15, right. I mean, it was all mod cars and light wells.
Yes.
And then, about that 18, 19, when you started.
I started in 18 is when I started.
The mod shit started coming down, and the stock stuff started coming up.
Actually, one of the last mod shows I seen. I don't even know if it was actually considered a mod show. It was at Boonville with J&B. You had Rob, Teddy, Purdy.
Those were light welds.
Light welds, yes. Yeah. And that was like the last time I actually seen that caliber of car around.
I think the last mod show I watched around here was in Chilbina.
Yeah. When was that when like Tommy Stark and
that was whenever Rob and all them were starting.
But I don't think I still don't think that was a full tilt mod show. That was more of your light weld on steroids a little bit because they allowed some.
Well, Rob was in that orange caddy,
and I know Tommy had that 03 with the welding cradle.
Right.
Mason was there.
Colt
Doyle was there. Case Doyle, Chase Lackey.
Yeah.
It was kind of what I would call at that point in time the Palmyra rules.
Yeah.
See, somebody might steal my idea here. I mean, anybody can steal it if they want to. I don't care. But we were thinking about Boonville. We were thinking about putting a show on there. It's in the middle of I-70 there, like Missouri. Mm-hmm. We were thinking about allowing a class. And we're going to still have the stock class, compacts, but we're going to add a class, but it's going to have to be a pre-enter because it's going to be so much money. But, everybody has these suicides sitting around. They got some they got some Imperials. And then you got these guys that are so hard about these 03s with the welding cradles. And then if you want to run anything else, you can. But make it the Blizzard Bash mod rules right there. Me and the money guy that I have, the guy that, is putting on Slater and everything, he's the money guy. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's what he is. He's there.
I need one of those.
He's the backer.
Yeah, he puts the show on.
Yeah.
And he pays me to help put it on. That's it. It's pretty much just like being a promoter,
Which we were going to do that this year.
Yeah.
We were going to do pre-registration, we wanted 15 cars.
Yes.
I don't think it'd be hard to get 15
No.
cars.
And, well, because you think about it, if you have enough money on it, a guy from Iowa, that's not that far to drive. And
there's
while
like
we were
4
thinking-
million of them fuckers up
Yeah,
there,
you gotta
boy.
watch
And while we
out
were
with them big
thinking-
fucking payouts, man.
But what we were thinking is Boonville is like
Yeah.
they got a big area.
Oh yeah.
And it's right there on I-70, and there's Columbia's
Right.
10 minutes away.
Yeah.
20 miles.
20 miles, okay.
Yep.
And then St. Louis, Bowling Green, all that's not far. You go, Sedelia's not that far. You go the other way, you got Kansas City, that's,
Right.
it's right there.
You're close to
Yes.
you're pretty much centered in the middle.
And you got, Mason Larson lives in.
Mason lives where the Hootie Owls fuck the
Yes.
chickens.
Yes.
He is northeast of Trenton.
Yes.
So he's really between like
Spickard.
Trenton and Iowa.
Oh,
He's
Spickard.
way up there.
Yeah. But see, that wouldn't be that far of a haul for him, really. Because, Mason Larson used to come to Marshall.
Right.
Mason Larson used
Straight
to come
down
to Marshall
65.
he used to come.
Justin
him,
Worsig.
Yep. And Schumacher. Old, skinny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Drove like the junkiest car you've ever seen in your life and would wheel it down into the money every night.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So they're like, there's plenty of. I thought that was a good
Oh,
idea, but we just don't know.
I would. Yeah. You gotta put that shit out there and see what you
But
get.
yeah, and see the thing would be though too is I would want to tech like. I don't even know who I'd want to tech it. You wouldn't be able to get Jerry Lowry to tech because he's gonna want to run it probably. Like he would be a good tech for it, but you would have to find somebody that wants to sit there and read them pages and pages and pages of rules, and actually
There's a lot of on those mod cars. There's a lot of pages,
that just
but
need to be
there's really
shredded.
not that many rules
Yeah.
to the extent if you're letting O3s come in with weld-in cradles. That's a game changer right there.
But see, that's where I think would be your level playing field with your suicide, in my opinion.
Right.
A suicide Lincoln and a 03 and newer with welded up, I think that would be a good
Well,
show
we've
to
seen that
watch.
shit played out.
Yeah.
We've seen the 03s versus the Imps.
Yep.
uh-huh.
I think it would be
Yeah.
a good.
Yeah, it's that shit's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
It is because you get that age old question out of the way, and it just leads to more.
Yeah.
Cooper County chaos.
There you go.
But seriously, if you try to do that, I think if you went like 4-2-1,
That's what we were thinking, actually.
3-2-1, something like that, or even pay down 5 spots, you're gonna get some cars.
Yeah.
You know,
We weren't going to get too crazy with the payout because you do, then it's like, oh, we're not going there. That payout's huge.
Yeah,
There's going to be guys from everywhere.
But if you play that payout correctly, you're gonna have so many cars. You're gonna go, fuck this.
Well, I think we've beat on him all that we can beat on him.
Yep. Oh yeah. We're all looking forward to. We keep coming back to. We don't ever want to see a promoter fail. You hit on it. You might have to tweak some rules. A little bit. I don't think nothing really out of the realm.
Well, and
Of butt hurtness.
And it may be after this year, you might have to do a little remodel, but
Yeah.
Well, what we were thinking about doing is the whole coming back to what the drivers want. We might end up around this time next year just saying, hey, don't ask me for rules until the beginning of the year, and we're going to get. I want
You run a convention center
Yes.
and you sit down 100 motherfuckers and say,
I want.
"What do y'all want, boys?"
Yep.
don't let them drink until after you're done.
Yeah, no doubt. Because as soon as they start getting drinking, yeah,
We want kickers.
yeah, we want kickers. We want it all.
Then you'll get 14 John Hendrens and 6 Steven Adamses. You don't want that.
Well, here's to a new year.
Mr. Huff, we appreciate you coming down. I know it was a little bit of a drive, but there was a few things that we was wanting to ask you. So,
Thanks for having me.
Steven, anything left?
Wrap it.
Make junk, boys.